Good morning, Manchester. I, unlike Lisa and Andy, am delighted to be here. I would also say I thought the video was really excellent, actually, but the eagle-eyed of you may have noticed that her folder was empty. If I was trying to create a video to look as if I was really important and busy, I'd make sure there was something in it and maybe less boiled sweets, but anyway. That was brilliant, Arifa. Thank you so much. And the stuff that was covered in that session around trust is essentially what I'm going to talk about now. For the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about trust in our industry. I hope it is deliberately thought-provoking and provocative, but I also hope you take stuff out of it that will make you think about some really, really important issues.
That's Taylor Swift on radio.
That was a bit early. I shouldn't need to, given I'm at a radio centre event, I shouldn't need to evangelise about the power of audio. But I do think it's time that audio and other trusted medium start to call out some of the dangers that we are currently facing in our industry. I'm going to play you something. You nearly heard it early. It's meant to be powerful and thought-provoking.
That's Taylor Swift on Radio Post, and I've got a message in here from Keith. Hello, Keith. He says, Taylor's getting pretty fat and looking old, isn't she? Katy Perry is much more attractive. Love that. Great to hear from you, Keith. This follows the big news, of course, that Taylor has publicly endorsed Donald Trump's 2024 election campaign. America is never ever getting back together with the Democrats after that. And the final word before our commercial break goes to NFL fan Johnny, who's got something to say about Taylor as well. He says, I'm sick of the camera showing that whore. I felt the urge to kill Travis and Taylor. I'm sick of them both. Top stuff, Johnny. Now, don't forget to keep all your comments coming in. We'll share absolutely anything here on Radio Post.
So, clearly, Radio Post does not exist, and that content has never been played on air. But those specific comments do appear on social media. Now, this content would shut down a radio station, a TV show, or a magazine in seconds. So the question I think we have to ask is, why do we, as an industry, accept it on social media? Now, I spoke last year at the Media Leaders Future of Media event and warned Adland not to fall asleep at the wheel when it comes to the industry's role in blindly supporting social media. And it's been really good to see other players like Channel 4, Global, and as well as industry bodies such as Thinkbox take a public position on this issue. But sadly, I have to say the challenge has only become more acute since. So to start with, I'm going to summarize the threat posed both to the advertising industry and also more widely to society in general. Now, an Adalytics report published last year revealed that ads for hundreds of the world's biggest brands, including Disney, IKEA, Mercedes-Benz, Microsoft, and Nestle, appeared online on pages with racial slurs, explicit sexual content, and violent imagery. In addition, brands such as Bumble, Tinder, and Hinge pulled their ads from Meta platforms after a bombshell report from the Wall Street Journal unveiled that the company's ads on Instagram Reels appeared next to sexually explicit content involving children. Now, the ad industry legacy is built on trust. It relies on trust to exist. Without trust, we have no platform to communicate our advertisers' brands and products. And also, the relationship we have with these audiences has been built through regulated, trusted platforms and advertising. But the reality is that this trust is being eroded with growing investment in social media platforms. Marketeers' trust in adverts on X, is at an all-time low and unsurprisingly has decreased further under Musk's leadership. Only 4% of marketeers think adverts on X provide brand safety, and the very top end of the platforms, Google only gets 39%. That's 39% for the top-rated platform. In the UK, 77% agreed that quality journalism is key to a healthy democracy. However, only slightly more than half believe that what they read is true most of the time. In the UK, there is incredibly low trust in social media as a news source, as Matt showed at the start, at just 27% compared to 69% for radio. But this can't really be a surprise to anyone when it's increasingly difficult to determine real from fake, trusted from made up, verified from rumor, and this is getting worse with generative AI, deepfakes, all supported by content generated by algorithm. In fact, over 8 in 10 people in the UK come across fake news in their day-to-day lives, and over half of people admit that they have been deceived by fake news at least once. Now, and this is data that Matt showed earlier, many research studies measure levels of trust and they show a similar pattern to this. This data comes from a nationally representative sample of UK adults and basically shows a decline in trust as you move away from regulated platforms. The truth is that we are at the center of a pandemic of misinformation, which was shockingly demonstrated last summer with the UK riots. Social media was at the heart of spreading lies and misinformation, which led to horrendous scenes across the nation, specifically fueled further by Elon Musk's posts, culminating in a claim that civil war is inevitable in the UK to his 200 million followers. Elon espouses free speech while taking advertisers to court for using their freedom of choice not to advertise on his platform, and he doesn't get the irony. But X isn't the only platform to blame. Facebook, TikTok, and others playing their role in this. Mark Zuckerberg, or the Zuck, as I think he now wants to be called, recently sent social media publishing standards spiraling even further with the announcement that Meta is abandoning the use of independent fact-checkers on Facebook and Instagram. The scary reality is, in a post-Trumpian world, truth just doesn't seem to matter for Meta. The situation is so toxic that even the man who played him in the award-winning film Social Network wants nothing to do with him. Here's what the brilliant Jesse Eisenberg had to say.
When I think of myself as associated with somebody like that, it's not like I played a great golfer or something and I want to and now people think I'm a great golfer. It's like this guy that's doing kind of doing things that are problematic, taking away, fact-checking and safety concerns, making people who are already threatened in this world more threatened.
Now, this, in my view, is a real existential crisis for our industry. Advertisers face growing risks as they continue to over-invest in untrusted social platforms. Risks to brand reputation, to their audiences, to their revenues, and a deeper erosion of consumer trust. And the harsh truth is, we are all aware of the trust issue, but that doesn't appear to be translating into a change of behavior. And it was great to hear you talk about the importance of trust. But this does make you wonder in general, do advertisers really care about trust, despite the weight of evidence that demonstrates that advertising in trusted environments is more effective? Now, for me, the media industry has to ask itself the uncomfortable questions about where we are heading. Because if we don't protect trust, we will fail in our responsibilities to the future of our industry and also to the wider communities we serve. We are potentially left with a handful of unregulated tech giants owned by Elon Musk, the Zuck, Jeff Bezos, ByteDance, etc., running media with their own agendas. Watching this gang sat in the front row of the US inauguration, for those in the room who are old enough, it felt like a scene from the Death Star in Star Wars. It was really hard not to think that the future of media is not looking perilous. Now, of course, I am not saying to stop social media advertising or that all social media advertising is wrong. Our brands and global brands and presenters themselves have millions of followers, and radio and publishing brands have extended to become very much digital and social products. When used effectively and safely, they can be a fantastic vehicle for marketeers. And as radio knows better than anyone else, authentic voices can carry real influence with audiences. Brands like Kiss, Heart, in fact, all radio brands, regardless of their ownership, Channel 4, The Guardian, are great examples of media channels who use digital platforms in an effective but brand-safe manner. We need to do more as an industry to make this consistent and to use social platforms responsibly. Whether that's through increased government action or self-regulation like tighter age verification and better responses to online abuse, or through advertising and advertisers and agencies doing more to work with trusted digital brands. In my view, failure to support regulated media platforms has the potential to disrupt the foundations of ad land, leading to a cycle of diminished brand credibility, audience engagement, and revenue, putting the entire industry at risk. However, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, which is even more troubling for me for ad land. We are turning a blind eye to the social damage that social media is doing. There is increasing and significant evidence that social media has a detrimental effect. I'm going to let you just look at those stats on the screen for a while. For me, the two that stand out, 84% of people think social giants have too much power. 84%. And rates of anxiety and depression in young people have risen 70% in the last 25 years, according to the Royal Society for Public Health. Mental health is the biggest social issue facing young people today. It's a crisis that's bigger than facts and figures. It impacts real people. Something that no one understands more than Esther Gay, mother of the teenage murder victim Brianna Gay, who recorded this message ahead of the launch of an important initiative, which I will go on to talk to you about shortly.
As parents, we try our best to protect our children from harm. We teach kids to be cautious of strangers, to look both ways when they cross a road, and to tell a teacher if someone is being nasty. So why is it a different story when it comes to staying safe online? 9 in 10 children own a mobile phone by the time they reach the age of 11, and social media has no filter. The moment you give a kid a phone, they are exposed to the whole world, the good, the bad, and the ugly. As a society, we don't do enough to educate and empower ourselves, let alone young people, when it comes to being safe online. It's time we do something about that. When Brianna was alive, she really struggled with her mental health. She had an eating disorder and she was self-harming. At the time, I didn't realise that she was accessing self-harm and pro-anorexia sites online. As a parent, I really struggled to monitor her social media use, and I just didn't have the technical skills to really know how to keep her safe online. I'm proud to support Bauer's Where's Your Head At campaign to empower the nation's use of social media. So, now I speak with a passion on this subject, not just through my experience of being a media professional, but also, and frankly, far more significantly, through my experience of being a parent. This is me and my 2 sons sharing one of our bonding moments, generally watching West Ham lose, something that, in fairness, both Manchester clubs are becoming more used to in recent years. Both my boys are in their 20s now, and both have grown up fully in the social media age. Both of them have suffered with mental health issues. My younger son has had an especially difficult time over the last few years. Right across our communities, social media is being linked with a deterioration in the nation's mental health. I simply do not have time to go through all the evidence that now is available. Now, thankfully, my son is in a much better place now, but when you go through this as a family, you very quickly learn that this is happening everywhere. I'm sure that many people in this room have experienced it in their families too. It's becoming shockingly common. The stories that my son told me about the part social media played in his challenges are incredibly disturbing and really hard to hear. It's made me radically reduce my own social media activity,
And we've all seen the high-profile stories which, over the last couple of years, which paint exactly the same picture. As soon as you give a child a mobile phone with access to the internet and social media, it will become a central focus in their life. Something I'm sure that parents of teenagers in this room can all relate to. The question that we should be asking is, what impact is that having on them? Now, our legacy in advertising has been built on supporting great high-quality content, joyous radio, great TV, cinema, and journalism. But we are at risk of eroding this legacy, instead funding platforms that are increasingly linked with a growing mental health crisis. We, I think, need to be very careful as an industry that the next generation of people attending a conference like this do not look back and say that our generation were asleep at the wheel, and we need to do something about it. Now, I talk to agencies and clients all the time about this, and everybody understands the challenge, but no action is done. Omar Oakes recently wrote in his Media Leader column the following, and I'm going to read this out because it's worth reading. Do you know how many media agency bosses I've spoken to in the last 10 years who actively keep their kids away from smartphones and social media? But when the business is advertising, those concerns melt away. Other people's children are just an audience that a soft drink or a brand absolutely must reach. I've got to reiterate, I'm not calling on Adland to stop using or spending on social media, but there is an imperative need to work on how it can be done more responsibly. The platforms themselves have to take more responsibility. Agencies and clients should consider the longer-term impacts of ever-increasing spend, and other media platforms need to help their audiences to navigate this new environment. Which is why at Bauer Media, we are doing something about this. Our Where's Your Head initiative, which has already successfully campaigned for mental health first aiders in every workplace in the UK, is launching a new campaign to empower the way people use and interact social media. Our network of audio and publishing brands reaches over 27 million people in the UK, an audience figure that we hope is going to be growing over the next few months with an acquisition that we have made. And that will add more platforms to our business. Our upcoming initiative will be supported across all of our platforms, helping people navigate through the problematic world of social media. We want to do something to help protect our communities and to protect our industry. Our mission is to help improve the nation's mental, emotional, and social well-being by creating a cultural shift towards safer, healthier, and more balanced approaches to technology use. We've partnered with the mental health charity Young Minds, who will provide us with expert opinion, resources, and guidance, ensuring everything we say to our audiences can be trusted and relied upon. The campaign will have an exciting first for Bauer Media, as we will unite our audio brands to simulcast the same audio across all of our stations at once, creating a powerful moment that will unite our audiences and can be heard by millions of people in the UK all at the same time. Across our media brands, along with experts, we'll be airing open conversations involving real people of all agencies, creating a national conversation that we hope will help all families. We'll launch a pop-up radio station to host these conversations and to give experts and advocate shows, which will also appear in short-form content across our audio brands too. And we're going to ask our audiences and partners to commit to a change. We will ask them, along with our presenters, to pledge social smart commitments. You'll be able to go online and make a commitment, whether that's banning phones at the dinner table, going screen-free at gigs, or ensuring ad spend is only done in trusted media platforms. These pledges will contribute to a safer, healthier digital experience for the nation, because it's not too late to create change. Habits can be broken. Whether that's for the scrollers who have an unhealthy relationship with social media, as I used to, agencies and brands who've been blindly investing in these platforms with little regard to the toxicity they're funding, governments and regulators who are failing to hold the industry to account, or even the social media giants themselves, who could step up and take responsibility for the content on their platforms. Our Where's Your Head At campaign hopes to contribute to the lives of our listeners and to the health of our industry, because we need to break these unhealthy social media habits. Now, I passionately believe that this is something that we at Bauer must do as a business. Firstly, because it's simply the right thing for our consumers, as this is a challenge that everyone is struggling to navigate. But there's also a sense for me that as a media owner, we want to be on the right side of history in the media world too. And as an industry, we also need to be on the right side of that history. I don't want the next generation of media professionals to look back and say that our generation did nothing to highlight the challenges we face in the industry in the face of the seemingly unchecked power of the platforms. I'd love to call on you to get involved with our initiative. If you would like to find out more, scan the QR code and register your interest. Thank you very much.